The amount of traders that were just like, oh, this isn't my market. I'm just going to be taking the year off. And it's like, bro, what if your market doesn't come back for like 2-3 years? Like, are you just going to like end up at Burger King?
Lance, if you could show me, man, just a little bit of like what you look for in the morning. How's like your morning routine from looking at the market? Because I know a lot of people are probably asking like, what should they do when they come to the computer first thing in the morning?
Yep. So I don't actively trade anymore, but I'll walk you through kind of what I would do every day when I was trading. And so really, once you wake up, go through your morning routine and everything, just whatever, shower, whatever you need to do. And once I get to the desk, I want to start looking through the overnight news.
Okay.
What's the market done overnight? Are things gapping up? Was there any big news? So taking today, for example, TLT and bonds are up. So finally, rates are kind of taking a little bit of a chill. The market's kind of rallying on that. Chinese stocks had recently been blasted. Today's, just so everybody knows, October 25th.
Yep.
So yesterday was Monday, and over the weekend, all these Chinese stocks got wrecked. President Xi kind of just consolidating his power over there. And so now, like when I first started to check the markets this morning, I was looking at what did rates do, what's the market doing, and then also what these Chinese stocks were doing. So I might look at something like FXI, KWEB, which are both just Chinese ETFs, and of course big bellwether names like Alibaba, then also like the Chinese car sector that had EV car sector that had been beaten down, like NIO, Li, XPEV, and all those were gapping up this morning. So as I start to get together and build up that watch list, I'm reading through all the news. So essentially, President Xi is going to, a lot of their traders are supporting the stocks right now. He doesn't want the big sell-off after the whole, Communist Party and everything. And so what we saw is some relief in that. And I'll also be watching, like I said, rates. And so if I pull up a chart of, say, 30-year bonds, down here I have a daily chart. Up here I have an intraday, which is what I always do. Generally focused on 2-minute bars. Not that they're anything magic, but just it's simply what works for me.
Yep.
And so I've been watching these 30-year bonds pretty closely, and so we've just been getting wrecked. Today appears to be the first day where we kind of break that downtrend, and so that's interesting to me. So maybe, if you're going to do a swing trader, maybe this is an interesting swing for long bonds after all that. Even if you're interested in tech, right? Like super rate sensitive right now, so perhaps this could spur a rally in the market overall. If you type up stuff like the Qs, what's kind of interesting is that even though rates made another leg down, sorry, not rates, but essentially bonds. Rates were going higher, bonds going down. The market actually held up pretty well during that, right? These last couple days, the market was definitely relatively strong. So now that you have bonds actually bouncing and breaking that downtrend, you need to ask, like, will kind of stocks start to rip after that? So then during the trading day, like right prior to the open, I have my daily report card template, and I posted this online for everyone.
Yep.
And so what I do is going into the open, I would do a morning temperature check. Not the literal COVID temperature check, although I guess maybe sometimes. But really, like, how am I feeling today? How well did I sleep? How focused am I? Have I been trading well? Am I in a position of strength right now? Or is it time to kind of lay off the gas, right? Maybe I'm tired, maybe I'm sick, maybe I've got a lot of other things in my life going on. And so based on that, pretty much I would then decide how much I'm gonna risk all day. So let's say, okay, pre-market temp check, I'm an A+. Then also you gotta figure out like how much opportunity is there in the market. If this is 2020, 2021, if you're feeling good and like things are active, you might want to be risking hundreds of thousands of dollars per day, right?
Yeah.
If it's a slower day and let's say I'm tired or sick, I might want to risk 5K, right? So we're talking about drastic differences, right? There's days where if I'm not feeling well, I might go to work per se, but like I'm not trading. I'm just doing productive work because I know if I'm super tired or just super out of it, I'm just not. I just know from my data I'm not going to trade well. So that morning temperature check, that's deciding. That's like the guardrails on my trading for that day, right?
Yep.
I think we've all had those days where you're hungover, you're sick, you're tired, and like a buffoon, you don't even do anything about it. You risk your normal amount, and you hit your loss limit by like 11 a.m. and you're like, why the hell did I do that? On all the days, like this is a slow nothing day.
Yep.
Why would I ever stop out today? So I think that's super, super important. And that's something that like every trader can take home. Like if you're not adjusting your risk based on how you're feeling, how you're trading in the opportunity set, then you're out of your mind, right? Like it just makes no sense. And so then throughout the day, I'll be watching my watch list. This obviously isn't my actual trading software. This is just Thinkorswim.
Yep.
And I'll be setting alerts on certain levels. So let's go back to kind of bonds, for example. Because everything's been getting so wrecked, I've been watching kind of this downtrend. So if we hadn't broken yet, I would have been setting alerts there, right? Because I don't want to miss a level break like that. Because maybe I do want to do a swing if it sets up. And so on top of that watch list, when I was actively trading, I did a lot of breaking news. So I would also have a zillion news alerts, right? And I would just be constantly reading all day. And so maybe you'll get a headline, Chinese stocks are down a lot, so maybe you'll get something. Most of the Chinese news will happen overnight, but maybe you'll get something from the Fed. Maybe you'll get something, say, Twitter's been the big buyout stock, right?
Yep.
So maybe we'll get an update where, okay, all funding is in place and update from the exchange, deal's going to close on Friday.
Yep.
Right, and I think that's actually the trial deadline. I think this Friday is the 28th off the top of my head. And so really, if I was trading actively, I would have Twitter in my top of my mind the whole freaking day, right? Because any second now you could get that headline, deal set to close, 54.20 deal price. We're at 52.30 or so right now. Like that leaves a lot of meat on the bone in a super liquid stock to crush that. Or just as well, like a lot of people are thinking, hey, this could be gone any day now. And if you get something, the old Elon Musk blindside,
yep.
which seems pretty impossible at this point, but I've said that before with this, and you would want to be ready to short this to the moon, then obviously that can also have carryover effects on Tesla. And Tesla's kind of interesting in itself just because we're kind of around $200 level. So far we've held,
yep.
And actually Tesla's held up, compared to for being such an overvalued, just growth, high beta name,
yep.
It's kind of done well in the grand scheme of things.
Hey, we wouldn't be able to do these face-to-face interviews if it wasn't for our sponsor, Cobra Trading. So if you can just give them a few seconds of your time, we'd really appreciate it. Cobra Trading is the go-to broker for day traders and short sellers. And I'm not the only one saying this. In fact, Benzinga awarded Cobra Trading as the go-to broker for short selling. They have a heavy focus on direct market access order routing, so you have the fastest execution. They have some of the best locate prices and availability. They also have amazing customer service. I've experienced many different brokers, and it's why I use them every single day and why I'm proud to have them as our sponsor. Sign up now by clicking the Be the Trader referral link below and earn 1 free month of software with Cobra and 25% off all commissions. Now let's get back to the show. I know people are probably thinking, like when you were mentioning the bonds, like how relatable is that to the market and why do you look at that? Because I know someone's probably watching this and is like, why is that so important to you? When it comes to your morning routine.
Yeah, and I would say if you're a trader this year, like anyone with a pulse really knows that like the Fed has been driving everything, right? The whole every year kind of has a theme. Like okay. maybe in you can look back and at the Trump China trade tariffs, right? Then 2020 obviously was COVID. Then 2021 was the low rate meme mania, SPAC mania bubble that followed COVID.
That's true.
Then 2022, really it's been, I would say, two stories, which are really kind of almost tightly related as well. It would be the Ukraine, Ukraine-Russia war, right? And then also the Fed tightening, right, to stop the inflation, which the war also has some carryover effects on. And so what we've seen is like CPI numbers, which is just essentially an inflation reading, massively move the market. In what other time have we ever seen a CPI number move a market 4, 5, 6%? Like that's unheard of, right? In all the prior decade plus of my career, nobody's even paid attention to PPI and CPI for the most part. It just doesn't move anything really. And so what that says is all investors, right? They're trying to extrapolate, because really interest rates drive returns on equities in all asset classes. And so when that rate and future perceptions of where that rate's going to go is so volatile based on these numbers, you get massive moves of kind of the tail wagging the dog, where like then you get these massive moves in equities. And so what we find is the correlation between the two has just been enormous. So that's why a lot of times this year, even previously, what day was it? I don't know if I'll be able to find it here, but there was this one night, I talked about this at Traders for a Cause, but there was that one night where Apple had guided down, said we're not going to meet our targets, yada, yada, yada. And like, sure enough, like things start, despite being like an awful headline on a weak close in a scary market, things firmed up overnight. And then kind of heading into the open, bonds started to bounce, the dollar started to weaken. And then we just saw this massive just inflow to risk assets and just a massive bounce in the market. So like, if you're a trader this year, like you got to be paying attention to interest rates, bonds, and the carryover effects of some of that.
I like what you said, because it just sounds like you said that there's themes every year, and you go and pay attention to what's happening that year and really focusing on that news. At least you want to have a feel for what's happening.
Yep. And going back to kind of like how I always discuss the broken slot machine, like if you're not paying attention to those themes, like you're probably not in the right stuff. You know, if you're someone, you know, like if you're someone that does, I mean, most traders out there are price action traders, right? And I know on FinTwit, like everybody is mostly getting their chops in some of the low float stuff.
Right.
But like, you know, what I always argue is I've seen markets where low floats have nothing for years and years, and it's like, even this year, the amount of traders that were just like, oh, this isn't my market, I'm just gonna be taking the year off. And it's like, bro, what if your market doesn't come back for like 2-3 years? Like, are you just gonna like end up at Burger King?
Yep.
Like I don't understand the game plan there. Like if you have a shit ton of savings and you're really, really successful and you're really, really good at this one niche, then like, okay, I guess take time off and do you. But like real traders don't do that. Like, I hate to break this to the online trading community.
Sure.
But like real professional institutional traders, they don't just say, this isn't my market, I'm gonna take unlimited, uncapped amount of time off. They fucking find new edge. They get to work and they find new strategies. Like nobody does this, not my market. Like that doesn't mean trade and lose money. It means put the work in to better yourself, right? To adapt to whatever this market is showing you and giving you. Because I guarantee you, like there is edge somewhere. And if you're really good at something, that doesn't mean don't do it. But there's times where it's just not in play.
Right.
And
especially small caps, like you were saying.
And compared to spending like, I don't know, 3 years on the beach, like making zero income, there are traders out there that will be making millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And it's like, you know, like if you're a real trader, that's what it's about. It's about adapting and finding edge in all markets and finding the challenge, right? And like, part of that is knowing when to take your foot off the gas. And that's not saying just force things, but it is saying like traders adapt, and like that's our job. And if you're really like a pro, like institutionalized trader, like there is no doing that, right? Like we're expected to produce in every single market, right?
True.
Like every single year of my career, I think pretty much virtually every single year, my P&L went up year over year over year over year over year, right? And like, sure, part of that's trading size, but also part of that was I was always just expanding my playbook and expanding my quiver, you know? And like, there's just too many people out there that aren't the elite, advanced, you know, retired traders that are like, oh, not for me, you know, I'm gonna log in for the open, and you know, if by 10 a.m. just call it a day. And it's like, nah, man, okay, you don't trade that day, but you do work.
Yep.
You do the studies, you do the analyses, you figure out what is in play, what is moving.
That's a good point, man, because like at the end of the day, like I come from the retail side, and a lot of retail traders on Twitter especially, they're like, that's not my market, I'm taking time off, and even myself, like I found that my strategies just disappear, and I've just been taking time off. So hearing you say this is like really good and inspirational for like, I need to spend some more time and look at the market every day and try to see where is the new edge at and focus there. And like you said, like when you analyze the market in the morning, drastic difference on how you feel, what the market is giving you, what you see from just examples, $100,000 risk to $5,000 risk. That's a huge difference, but at least shows you that you're still putting the work in. You're not risking a ton of capital, but you're still trying to get the edge back.
And you can put work in without placing a single trade, right? Like, there's tons of ways to just do studies and everything. And so I actually met this trader Andres out in LA, and he had been trading a couple of years, had like a really good 2020, 2021, like most people, and 2022 wasn't his style, and then he was of the mindset of like, oh, I guess just got to take some time off, blah blah blah, and just not take any pitches. And I made the argument like, hey man, like what? Same argument I just made here, and he took that to heart, right? And I explained my logic. It all made sense to him. I explained what I would be doing. And he went and ran with it. And then guess what? 3, 4, 5, 6 months later, he hits me up like, yo man, thank you so much. I've been expanding my playbook, and now I'm back on the growth path and back towards having one of my best years. And we met up in Vegas at Traders for a Cause again and like chatted about it. And that's what a real trader is, right? Like he built a foundational playbook. He had success with it. Market pivoted, and he pivoted with it. Right? And he moved to the broken slot machine, and he's like, I'm finally making money again. Yep. And guess what? If he's a young dude and only a couple years in, he can't just take off the next 3 years. Yeah. He'd be back at his old job, and he doesn't want that. And so now that that's the type of mindset change that can save your whole career.
Dude, everyone watching this right now, you got to rewind this, listen to this. And the broken slot machine, you guys need to understand what the broken slot machine is. Lance talks about it in a previous episode with us. But again, Lance, where can people learn more about you, man, if they have questions or anything like that?
Yep. So on Twitter, @the1LanceB, all spelled out. That's where I do my tweets. And like to give people a concrete example, like if I had to guess what is the broken slot machine of the last 2 days, like what should every trader have been watching? It was the Chinese stocks. And like I don't know what they're gonna necessarily do from here, right? Nobody ever does. But those were the stocks with the biggest price discovery, right? You had stuff like Alibaba, which is really just a mega cap stock, down, I don't know, 10, 15% yesterday, right? And like that is what leads to opportunity. There's emotions, there's price discovery, there's a lot of contrasting views. And through that's where price action traders can take advantage and capture some of those ranges.
Amen, man. And I know you're being very humble about it, but I would love for everyone to know about your charity that you do. So if you could tell them real quick about your charity.
Yep. So I run a charity called the Impact Competition. We host competitions at different universities, helping students learn more about nonprofits and become volunteers, socially minded individuals, everything like that. If you ever want to check us out, impactcompetition.org or impact_compete on Twitter. Always appreciate the follows.
And we'll have links below for that. So again, thank you everyone, and thanks again, brother.
Thank you.